Morning everyone, sorry I didn't read to you yesterday. I had such a busy day and it just slipped my mind. Sorry about that, guys.
Slips.
So, David Walliams, Billionaire Boy. We've got up to chapter 10. Would you like to read the first page?
Yeah.
Yes, okay then.
Chapter 10. Dog spit. As Joe scurried across the playground to the dining room, all the other kids swarmed around him. Joe kept his head down. He didn't like this instant
Superstardom
at all. Voices whirled around him. Hi, bum boy. I'll be your best friend. My bike got nicked, but it's a new one, mate. Lend us a fiver. Let me be your bodyguard. Do you know Justin
Timberlake?
Me granny needs a new bungalow. Give us 100 grand more, yeah?
Nice accent there as well.
Me granny needs a new
How many
bungalow.
helicopters have you got? Why do you bother going to school anyway? You're rich. Can I have your autograph? Why don't you have a massive party at yours on Saturday night?
They only got 3 things.
Can I have a lifetime supply of bog rolls? Why don't you buy the school and sack the teachers? Can't you just buy me a bag of Maltesers? All right then, 1 Malteser. You're so mean.
Look, he's only got
So
3
poor
fingers.
Joe, that's just the drawing, darling. Poor Joe's got everyone now wanting something from him, which is what he didn't want in the first place. He didn't want people to know that he was rich. Because when you find out that someone's rich, some people just take advantage of that and only want you for your money.
Give me the money.
Shush now. Joe started running. The crowd started running too. Joe slowed down. The crowd slowed down too. Joe turned and walked in the other direction. The crowd turned and walked in the other direction. A little ginger-haired girl tried to grab his bag and he thumped her hand away with his fist. Ow, my hand is probably broken, she cried. I'm going to sue you for £10 million. Hit me, said another voice. No, me, hit me, said another. A tall boy with glasses had a better idea. Kick me in the leg and we can settle out of court for £2 million, please. Joe sprinted into the school dining room. That was one place that was guaranteed to be empty at lunchtime. Joe struggled to force the double doors back on the tsunami of school children, but it was no use. They burst through, flooding the room. Form an orderly queue, shouted the dinner lady, Mrs. Trafe. Joe walked up to the serving counter. Now, what would you like today, young Joe? She said with a warm smile. I have a very stinging nettle soup to start today. I'm not that hungry today. Maybe I'll go straight to a main course, Mrs. Trafe. Ooh, it's chicken breast. Oh, that sounds nice. Yes, it comes in a dog spit sauce. Or for vegetarians, I have deep fried blue tack. Joe gulped. It's so hard to decide. See, I had some dog spit only last night. Ah, that's a shame. I'll give you a plate of fried blue tack then, said the dinner lady as she dumped a lump of something blue and greasy and vomit-inducing on Joe's plate. If you ain't having lunch, then get out, cried Mrs. Trafe at the crowd still cowering at the doors. Spud's dad's got a helicopter, Mrs. Trafe, came a voice from the back. He's super rich, came another. He's changed, came a third. Just give me a dead arm, Spud, and I'll take $250,000, came a tiny voice from the back. I said out, shouted Mrs. Trafe. The crowd reluctantly retreated and contented themselves with staring at Joe through the grimy windows. With his knife, he removed the batter from the blue lump underneath. Now that raw potato seemed like food of the gods. After a few moments, Mrs. Trafe limped over to his table. Why are they all staring at you like that? She asked kindly as she slowly slumped her heavy frame down next to him. Well, it's a long story, Mrs. Trafe. Oh, you can tell me, pet, said Mrs. Trafe. I'm a school dinner lady. I reckon I've heard it all. Right, well, Joe finished chewing the large lump of blue tack he had in his mouth and told the old dinner lady everything about how his father had invented Bumfresh, how they now lived in a massive mansion, and how they once had an orangutan as a butler. She was very jealous of that bit. and how no one would have guessed a thing had his stupid dad not landed his stupid helicopter in the playground. All the time he talked, the other kids continued to stare through the windows at him, like he was an animal in the zoo. "I'm so sorry, Joe," said Mrs. Trafe. "It must be awful for you, you poor thing. Well, not poor exactly, but you know what I mean." "Thank you, Mrs. Trafe." Joe was surprised anyone would ever feel sorry for someone who had everything. "It's not easy. I don't know who to trust anymore. All the kids in the school seem to want something from me now." "Yeah, I bet," said Mrs. Trafe, bringing out an M&S sandwich from her bag. "You bring a packed lunch?" asked Joe, surprised. "Oh, yeah, I wouldn't eat this filth. It's disgusting," she said. Her hand crept across the table and rested on his. "Well, thanks for listening, Mrs. Trafe." "That's okay, Joe. I'm here for you any time. You know that, any time." She smiled. Joe smiled too. "Now," said Mrs. Trafe, "I just need 10,000 quid for a hip replacement." Oh, so even she's after something as well. Poor Joe. Just before I move on, I just want to say, Laura, your school menu sounded revolting. Brilliant. I loved it. Right, chapter 11, camping holiday. "You missed a bit," said Bob. Joe bent down and picked up another piece of litter from the playground and put it in the bin liner Miss Spite had so generously provided. It was 5 o'clock now, and the playground was empty of children. Only their litter remained. "I thought you said you were going to help me," accused Joe. "I am helping you. Look, there's another bit." Bob pointed to another sweet wrapper that was lying on the asphalt, and he munched a bag of crisps. Joe bent down to pick it up. It was a Twix wrapper. Probably the one he himself had dropped on the ground earlier that day. "Well, I guess everyone knows how rich you are now," said Bob. "Sorry about that." "Yeah, I guess so." "I suppose now all the kids at the school are going to want to be your friend," said Bob quietly. When Joe looked at him, Bob turned away. "Maybe," Joe smiled, "but it means more that we were friends before everyone knew." Bob grinned. "Cool," he said. Then he pointed to the ground at his feet. "You missed another bit there, Joe." "Thanks, Bob," sighed Joe as he bent down again, this time to pick up the crisp packet his friend had just dropped. "Oh, no," said Bob. "What's the matter?" "Grubs." "Where?" "Over by the bike shed. What do they want?" Lurking behind the shed were the twins. When they spotted Joe and Bob, they waved. "I don't know what was worse," continued Bob, "being bullied by them or being invited around for tea." "Hello, Bob," shouted one grub as they started lolloping towards them. "Hello, grubs," Bob called back wearily. The two bullies reached where the two boys were standing. "We've been thinking," continued the other. "We were going on a camping trip at the weekend. Would you like to come?" Bob looked at Joe for help. A camping holiday with these two was not an inviting invitation. "Oh, what a terrible shame," said Bob. "I'm busy this weekend." "Next weekend?" asked Grub one. "Oh, that one too, I'm afraid." "The one after that?" asked the other. "Completely," stammered Bob. "Chock full of things I've got to do. So sorry, it sounds so much fun. Anyway, see you two tomorrow. Sorry, I'd love to chat, but I have to help Joe with his litter duty. Bye." "Any weekend next year?" asked the first grub. Bob stopped. Next year's really busy for me, so I'd really love to, but I'm so sorry." "How about the year after?" asked Grub 2. "Any free weekends? We have a lovely tent." Bob couldn't keep it in any longer. "Look, one day you're bullying me, the next you're inviting me to spend the weekend with you in a tent. What on earth is going on?" The grubs looked to Joe for help. "Joe?" said one of them. "What do you think's happened here then? Why are the grubs suddenly so lovely towards Bob?" "We thought it would be easy being nice to Blob," said the other, "but he just says no to everything. What do you want us to do, Joe?" Joe coughed, not very subtly, but the grubs didn't seem to get the hint. "You paid them not to bully me, didn't you?" demanded Bob. "No," replied Joe unconvincingly. Bob turned to the grubs. Did he? He demanded. No, yes, said the grubs. We mean yes, no. How much did he pay you? The grubs looked at Joe for help, but it was too late. They were all busted. £10 each, said a grub. And we saw the helicopter spud. We're not stupid. We want more cash. Yeah, continued the other. And you're going in the bin, Joe, unless you give us £11 each first thing tomorrow. The grubs stomped off. Bob's eyes filled with angry tears. You think money is the answer to everything, don't you? Joe was baffled. He'd paid off the grubs to help Bob. He was utterly perplexed as to why his friend was so upset. Bob, I was just trying to help you. I'm not some charity case, you know. I know that. I was just... Yes? I just didn't want to see you put in the bin again. Right, said Bob. So you thought it'd be better if the grubs were really weird and friendly and going on about camping trips? Well, they sort of came up with the camping trip on their own, but yeah. Bob shook his head. I can't believe you. You're such a spoilt brat. What? Said Joe. I was just helping you out. Would you really rather be in the bin and have your chocolate stolen? Yes, shouted Bob. Yes, I would. I'll fight my own battles, thank you. Suit yourself, said Joe. Have fun being dumped in the bin. I will, replied Bob before storming off. Loser, shouted Joe, but Bob didn't turn back. Joe stood alone. A sea of litter surrounded him. He stabbed at a Mars wrapper with his litter stick. He couldn't believe Bob. He thought he'd found a friend, but all he'd really found was a selfish, bad-tempered, ungrateful plume fizz. Is he really? Would you really call Bob selfish, ungrateful? Did Joe do the right thing by paying off the grubs? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that on Seesaw, and I will read the next couple of chapters tomorrow. Take care, guys. I miss you all lots and lots and lots, and hopefully I'll get to see you soon. Bye-bye.